Friday Night Heights in Northwest Arkansas takes a trip back to Bud Walton Arena. It's the final tune-up before the conference meets. A non-con matchup, Arkansas Razorbacks hosting the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Alongside Sydney McGlone, I'm Brett Dolan. Thanks for joining us. And Sydney, it was a strange week for the Razorbacks. They had to wait until Sunday to compete, but had their fourth 197 or better score at Georgia.
They did. They had a much-needed win and road score. They finally put a full meet together on every event, which will be huge going into the postseason. Lauren Williams got her first vault title as a gym back and had a huge 9925 on floor. And Nora Flatley was the star of the show, winning another all-around title as a gym back and finally finding her stride here.
Indeed, Arkansas that season high in the bars. Nora, the all-around title, she's pretty pumped up in a big meet for the Razorbacks. Now, Minnesota also, they had a season best score against Boise State.
Yes, a 197.6 is a huge score and another boost for them going into postseason. They had 2 10s in their floor lineup and they're hoping to repeat that here tonight.
2 10s back-to-back.
Back-to-back, that's impressive.
Arkansas still waiting for that first 10 in program history, but certainly a fun tune-up. Arkansas ready to go on the vault. We should say tonight that Leah Smith will not compete. She has a bit of a ankle issue in a boot. Shouldn't be too serious. Bailey Lovett's not here. So Cammie Weaver will start things off for the Razorbacks.
Cammie has been so solid in this leadoff position. She has a huge Yurchenko pull, and if she can find this landing, which she usually can, just a small hop back, a little bit of nerves, you could tell. Didn't really absorb that landing, but still a good start for the gym backs.
Coming off back-to-back 9-8s. Arkansas off and rolling with the vault. And of course, Minnesota will begin on the bars. Soraya Johnson is going to lead off. Last week a 9.85. She started the year in the all-around. Last few weeks she has just been competing on the bars and floor.
Very impressive to have a freshman in that leadoff position, much like Arkansas does, but to have that trust in a freshman to go up and hit and start your team off, especially at an away meet, first routine of the whole meet. Beautiful first handstand. Nice Maloney, legs together. Slight leg separation there on that bail. Nice final handstand to a Stalter. That's a very unique skill right there. And dismount. Huge stick. Wow, what a way to start for Minnesota for the freshman.
Indeed. For Soraya Johnson, high fives from all of her teammates.
Look here, the Chapage, like I said, she has great form there. You can see not as much from the side, which is what the judges are going to see, but she did have a little bit of a leg separation and a beautiful stuck dismount.
Here's Nora Flatley coming off a 9.825 against Georgia.
Beautiful Yurchenko pull. Another hop back. Razorbacks still don't have that stuck vault yet. It is early, but they're going to need that to try to take away anything that Minnesota is going to bring at them today.
Arkansas 15th in the country in this event, the vault. Next up for the Golden Gophers, Gianna Gertis. Last week, she had a 9.9, part of a 39.5 all-around. 4 different all-around event titles this year, and of course, important to be consistent in all, getting that final pep talk before she's ready to go.
Yeah, Gianna's definitely found her consistency this year. She's played a key role. With the loss of 2 huge seniors that they had last year, she stepped in very beautifully into this role of an all-arounder. Like you said, she had a 9.9 last week on bars, and I think they would not mind that right now.
Final pause before she's ready to go.
Nice first handstand to another Maloney. You can see that leg separation there. Put a beautiful bail immediately after. Again, another great final last handstand. Full in, small little hop, very solid start for Gianna tonight. So you're gonna see that Maloney. Again, you can see her like separate a little bit there. And as I said last routine, the judges do sit on the side, so they have a little bit different of a view than we see. But there will be a slight deduction because you can see them come apart from the side.
Arkansas has had a 9.8 from Cami Weaver, a 9.85 from Nora Flatley. Next up is Frankie Price. She had a 9.825 at Georgia.
See if she can dial in this landing for the gym backs. Much better. Her ball every week almost looks identical. She does the same height, same distance. She still hasn't got quite that one solid stick. You can see she has such nice body position, but she does pike down her hips a little bit, so she had to take that hop. But very good vault for Frankie.
I think she's pretty happy.
She's definitely happy with that one.
Marissa Jenks is up next. Now last week she had a 9.075, so she has been competing in 3 of the 4 events over the course of this season.
Yeah, Marissa had a fall on her release move, so let's see if she can get it tonight. There's that Ray. Shoot, no problems tonight. Little bit short going into that clear hip. And I would like to see her hip maybe a little bit more open on that bail to hit that handstand. You can tell she's slightly rushing this routine, little short on all her handstands, but a beautiful stuck double layout. She's definitely gonna be happy coming off that fall from last week. It was a solid routine to get under your belt.
And again, this is the last tune-up before these conference meets. You really want to go in on a consistent high note if possible.
Yep, it's always, when you start a new routine, you forget about what happened last week, and being able to hit a solid routine is huge for your confidence going into postseason.
Well, Arkansas has improved on their 3 scores from Weaver to Flatley to Price. Mackenzie Sedlicek up next off a 9.825. Now, a couple of weeks ago, she had a 9.95 at Kentucky.
Yeah, she can do a very beautiful 1.5. I saw a huge one in warm-up. Little short there. You can tell she was almost on her heels. And she's actually lucky she saved herself on that vault. Let's look again.
Yeah, it's amazing she was able to stay on her feet.
Yeah, you can tell that she was short, so she didn't get the full rotation, so she had to take those steps back. She was almost a little high on that table, so she didn't get the same solid block. That'll be the score that the gym backs are probably looking to drop.
Haley Remlinger next up for Minnesota. 9.85 a week ago against Boise State.
She's been a very consistent person in these Minnesota lineups as a senior leader, hoping to build off of that last routine. Beautiful first handstand. Nice release move, a Ray, very difficult. Nice bail. I feel like she almost has a rhythm on this bar routine that's very unique. Solid last handstand, full out. The 2 a stick. Wow, that was a very solid routine. And a very, like I said, a very unique rhythm. It was almost like she was going in slow motion, but she was breathing and taking her time. You don't see that a lot on bars. You see a lot more quick power, but beautiful routine by Hallie.
Stuck landings for the Gophers on bars. Sedlicek hit a 9.725. That might be the score Arkansas will drop. Lauren up next. She had a 9.9 a couple of weeks ago against Mizzou, a team best.
Yep, and had the vault title last week with this 1.5. Just that hop, you could tell she had to stick and kind of second guessed herself, so she had to take that hop. Let's look at it again. She has a little bit of a closed shoulder angle, so if you look, you can see her head sticking out more and not as much in line with her shoulders. So that can kind of cause you to be a little bit off on your twist, but still a pretty solid vault for Lauren.
You're right. She won last week with a 9.85. There seemed to be some difficult scoring in a couple of the events.
There was tight scoring last week, and they weren't a perfect vault rotation, but it was definitely tight scoring. So 9.85 is impressive that she wanted that.
Tiare Solis, she has a really interesting release aspect in this routine.
Yes, I love her bar routine. She does a Porcino coming up right here. You'll see she'll go over the bar.
Yes, there it is.
That's beautiful.
That hurts my shoulders.
Just the dismount left. Double A. Just the slide hop. Couldn't tell if that was an in-place hop or not. That was a beautiful routine. She did attend Gym Cats, and her club gym is known for unique bar releases like that. Jessica Gamzon, former gym back, was also a Gym Cat with Tiare, but I love that bar routine.
Well, this is not Kennedy Hambrecht. Emma Kelly is going to jump in. We may see Kennedy in an exhibition.
Beautiful pull for Emma. She has to be so happy with that.
And Arkansas needed that score too.
They did. There was conversation of if they needed a score, they'd go put Emma up, just since she has been in lineup this year, and she definitely delivered. Has a beautiful full. I'm so happy to see Emma get a spot and actually shine in it. That is how you step up for your teammate.
Indeed. Speaking of stepping up, it is going to be a joy tonight with Minnesota in the building to watch Maya Hooten do her thing.
I am so excited to watch Maya tonight. She is phenomenal on every event. She hasn't done beam as much this year, but she's solid on all other 3 events.
Now in week 2, she had a 9.95 on this event in week 2. Now that's been her highest of the year. Did have a 9.9 last week against Boise State.
She has a piked Jaeger. It's a huge release move. And I think she might have just tapped her feet, which will be a deduction, but she kept the routine going. Pull out, dismount with a stick. Way to finish that routine. You could tell she was a little off on that connection, so she didn't have a full grip on the bar and had to almost drag her feet. Again, huge Jaeger. And a solid way to finish. Won't be that 9.95 mark, but good way to wrap up that bar rotation.
So Hambrecht was listed 6th in the rotation. This will be an exhibition though for Kennedy.
Solid vault for Kennedy. First vault of the year, her 1.5. It's so nice to see her back, even in an exhibition role, to try to get that confidence, because that 1.5 is something that they could definitely use come SECs or at regionals. Obviously, she didn't have the full rotation, but doing exhibitions, you get your feet under you. So that was a solid start for her.
Exhibition as well for the Golden Gophers on bars. Benefit of some of these late season meets. One more opportunity. Get a gymnast in an event in front of a large crowd.
Beautiful toe point to a ganger to medium bail. You see she also had that little bit of a leg separation, but that's a unique release you don't see anymore in college. Solid last handstand.
This is Lauren Pearl, able to hold on.
Very good double layout. You could tell she almost landed like she was doing a drill, which was very interesting, but a solid stick for her.
Well, the Minnesota fans are here in attendance. One rotation complete. We'll step aside and come back to Bud Walton Arena on Friday Night Heights in a moment. One rotation complete at Bud Walton, Minnesota. A little better in the vault than the Razorbacks were as well. I think we've got those flipped. But we're back here courtside at Bud Walton Arena. Alongside Sidney McGlone, I'm Brett Dolan. This is the time of the year, though, everybody wants to be hitting on all cylinders going to the conference meet, but we also start talking about these qualifying scores and being able to drop the lowest with a good one here this evening.
That's true. You need one more solid score. Both teams, Minnesota's going to have to count an away score, and you want to get an even higher home score for Arkansas. It's going to be really important going into postseason for regional rankings, placements, all of those things. So both teams are looking to hit a solid meet tonight.
Jordan was hoping maybe for a 197 plus for the Razorbacks to be able to jump up quite a bit. And for the Razorbacks, one thing, Sydney, they have been extremely consistent, although one event has usually been the bugaboo every single meet, but in the top 18 of all four.
Yeah, you can see they're, like you said, they're consistent on all four events, but they've only put together a few meets where they've really hit on all cylinders on all events. So you can only imagine if they have a couple more of those scores, those rankings would be even higher.
Let's take a look at Minnesota. Two really good events, vault and floor. Balance beam has been the issue, though, for the Gophers.
It's almost a very similar or exact story to Arkansas, just haven't put together as much of a meet on beam. They finally put together one last week and honestly can only go up from there, and they're hoping to add another one to that tonight.
That's head coach Jenny Hansen, her 9th year. We'll step aside after one rotation. It's the Razorbacks and Gophers. It's always an event here at Bud Walton Arena. Second time this season that the Razorbacks have performed in their normal basketball arena, but another nice turnout on a night that the baseball team is playing, the softball team is playing. By the way, the basketball team is in Nashville and doing well. So it's that overlap week part 2 here on campus.
Yep, it is the craziest time of year for athletic departments.
Minnesota not ready to go on vault. Arkansas on the bars in this second rotation. Marissa Jenks up first. She had a 9.75 a week ago against Boise State. That strong team score of 197.6. Their second team score of 197 or better this year. Arkansas has had 4 of those.
Solid Yurchenko full for Marissa. She turned a little bit early on the table. You can tell she's kind of crunched and trying to go into that twist. So she didn't get as much amplitude as she could have. But she stayed within those 2 lines, just that small hop back.
Arkansas up next on the bars, 16th in the country, 6th in the SEC. Callie Sweeney will lead off. She's been in this leadoff spot every single meet this year, a career high 9.85 last week in Georgia.
She is definitely a consistent leadoff, and like I said, for Minnesota, they have another freshman in their leadoff for bars. And bars can be one of those nerve-wracking events, but Callie's handled it so well this year. Solid first handstand. Beautiful Ray. She's really improved on that release as the season's gone on. Solid half pirouette. You want to land that right on top of the bar within 10 degrees. She's finishing up, just needs to stick here.
How about that?
Beautiful routine for Callie. Chris Brooks is hyped for that routine, as he should be. Look at that release again. She's definitely worked on getting more height, and she turns it over so beautifully and finished with that step dismount. You can tell she almost second guessed it.
That's a tremendous beginning for the Razorbacks. Sarah Marat is up next. Last week at 9.85. All of her scores this year have been 9.8 or 9.85s in this event. Very consistent.
Very nice Yurchenko full, just that step backwards. She just needed to absorb the landing a little bit. She gets a really nice pop off that table. As you can see, her hips pike down in that L position. You want to keep that as flat as possible so you can be prepared for that stick.
This is Jensen Scalzo. Juniors been in this rotation most of the season in 9.875 against the Gym Dogs. Again, that was on Sunday, not on Friday, so it's been a short turnaround for the Razorbacks. They practiced on Tuesday and Thursday. That's it this week.
Yeah, and sometimes that can be beneficial because postseason you have meets back-to-back. So sometimes the shorter breaks in between can be helpful for the mental side of it. Maybe not so much for the body side of it, but beautiful release move by Jensen. She's been another one of those super consistent people in bar lineup. She's really improved even from her freshman year to now. Just the double A dismount. Hop back. Her routines almost look carbon copy every single week, which is what you want in one of those 1-2 positions.
By the way, Callie Swaney had a 9.875, so that's a new career high for her.
She finally broke the 9.85.
Allie Remlinger is up next from Minnesota, going third. They've had a 9.825 and a 9.85. They're 2 scores so far in this event.
Wow. Definitely a unique vault. She did a 1.5 in a tuck position. That is out of a 10-0 start value. That's, in my head, I feel like the tuck full can almost be a little bit harder than the straight body full just because you have to know where the landing is but not kick out so you don't land short or hurt yourself. But that was a beautiful vault. She did tuck a little early if I'm being picky, but it was still a very good vault.
You're supposed to be picky. Here's Reese Rotar 2 weeks ago against Mizzou. She had a 9.9 and 9.8 last week. She tied Nora Flatley in competition against the Gym Dogs.
Very nice release. And Reese has worked so hard on this event, especially on that bail to get it to handstand. She has such beautiful lines. She's definitely a taller gymnast. We'll give that the college stick. You can tell she almost wasn't ready for that landing. Kind of rushed to salute. But here's that double out. Beautiful body position throughout. Quick little salute there, but still a great routine for Reese.
Gianna Gertis up next for Minnesota, going fourth in the rotation. 6 compete, will take 5 scores, may have an exhibition or 2 the remainder of this evening. Gertis a junior, and she's from Ohio.
She is.
How about that?
We did used to compete against each other.
I figured as much.
Very nice 1.5 for Gianna. She almost held on to that twist a little too long. You could tell her arms were behind her, so she wasn't ready for that stick. But she almost slid a little bit on the
Yes,
table.
she did.
So it was impressive that she had that much power going into it. Yeah, she did not get that full reach back.
It looks like both of these teams maybe just a little bit off so far this season.
A little off. It's that time of season. Like you said, you're trying to polish. You're trying to experiment with lineups. You're trying to figure out what's best going into postseason, but there's also that fatigue. Gymnastics can take a toll on the body.
How about Maddie Jones's 9.95 last week on the bars?
Maddie has become such a beautiful bar worker. Her form, her skills, beautiful Jaeger. And her legs and her form throughout are impeccable. Solid last handstand. She can get the stick. This is going to be a huge score.
How about that? Back-to-back weeks, big scores for Maddie Jones.
I think she's definitely figured out her rhythm on bars. Wow. There's that Jaeger. She was a little bit close, but she is a little bit of a shorter gymnast, so you can't really tell that she's as close to the bar as she was. And beautiful double layout, textbook.
Well, for Minnesota, up next, it's Maddie Quarles. This is the only event she competes in, but my goodness, she put up big scores. 9.95 last week.
And she got her first perfect 10 this year, so she's capable of it.
Wow.
Wow. I don't think I've ever been speechless on the broadcast. Wow.
The
that was a
amplitude she got off that
beautiful-
table was really impressive.
Look at there. She has such nice arm pop off the table. Flares out a 1.5. Her legs do come apart a little bit on the table. But again, the judges probably won't be able to see it from that angle.
Minnesota fans enjoying it. Jamie Pratt, by the way, she had a huge week on the bars last Sunday at 9-9.
Yeah, it was a great lineup last week for the Razorbacks on bars. Another very nice ray. Little short on those handstands. But nice final one. Just the dismount. You can tell she was just a little bit off there. She almost caught herself on her heels.
When you start this event, you're a little bit off. Can you catch up? Can you get back on track?
You can, but sometimes this event is so quick that it's hard to remind yourself of when you need to get back up. So she, like you said, she was off a little bit throughout the whole routine. Nothing too major, but enough that the judges will take a little bit of deduction here and there.
Maya Hootens had 4 event titles on the vault this season. She had a 9.975 about a month ago at Illinois.
Wow, another 1.5. She tried to hold on to it. A little bit deep of a squat there. And she almost looked maybe a little bit off on the table as well. She spots that landing, but you can tell just a little too long, had to really absorb it. But good fight. You can tell she was a little surprised herself.
Well, Maddie Jones had a 9.9, so not quite as good as her 9.95 a week ago. It's still a big score back-to-back weeks. Then Nora Flatley up next. Back-to-back 9.9s. Her first 3 events on the bars all season were exactly 9.9s. Now her last 2 have been that same score.
Her form throughout is just incredible. Super hard move there to a huge Jaeger. That's probably the biggest one I've seen her do all season. Slight little mishap there. Nothing that the judge should deduct on. Awesome last handstand. And stuck dismount. What a great final bar routine in Bud Walton for Nora. Huge Jaeger.
It is senior night for Nora. Many
Wow.
others, you know you want to perform well in your last event here at Bud Walton. By the way, going back to the vault for Minnesota, Maddie Quarles had a 9.95 for the Gophers.
I would agree. That was a huge vault. I might think that's even a little low, but I'm not the judge.
Lauren Pearl, saw her in an exhibition on the bars, now one with the vault as well. Hooten had a 9.825, so a little bit lower than some of her previous scores.
Very nice Yurchenko full. Like I said, it's nice to have those additional people in lineup that you know. In case anything happens or you're resting on day 1 versus day 2, you're able to throw into that lineup.
Well, exactly, and again, Arkansas, no Leah Smith, no Bailey Lovett today, so you never know when maybe there's a minor injury of some sort or just the need not to be able to perform. And we're at that time of the year where, of course, you want everything clicking and health to be in your favor. Second exhibition, Arkansas has seen Kennedy Hambrick perform on her senior night.
Little bit close on that Jaeger. So then she had to rush into that bail, and that's why she slipped, missed her hand. Very quick regroup there. Nice last handstand though. Important, you still finish strong. A very nice dismount. Look at hit that again. You could tell she was super close, so she had to rush that and didn't quite get enough oomph to get over the bar without missing her hand. But a great way to finish that routine.
Well, Maddie Jones had a 9.9 at the bars for Arkansas. Maddie Quarles had a 9.95 on the vault for Minnesota. So the Maddies, very impressive. As we've completed our second rotation, we'll be back to Bud Walton in a moment.
Delta Gamma and Taylor.
I bet that took a while for that paint job on that young lady. Back at Bud Walton Arena, senior night. 5 seniors will be honored following the competition. One of those, Kennedy Hambrick, has had quite a run as a gym back. Let's hear more.
I decided to come back because I just wasn't ready yet. I feel like I have a little bit more in the tank, and I just want to see how far I can go. This year, I want to see if I can get better and hopefully go to nationals again and go to nationals as a team. That would be amazing.
But it's always worth the wait to watch Kennedy Hambrick. She has a chance to do something special every time she competes.
And you can see that game face on her right now. She is zoned in.
Going into college, I was always told, you're gonna have these little girls, these fans looking up to you. And once I realized that, I was like, I need to do the best I can for not just myself and not just my team, but for all these little girls looking up to me, because they think what I'm doing is great. And if they want to do that themselves, they need a role model to look up to.
Your words here after that. Kennedy Hambrick, couple of exhibitions in the books tonight. 2 rotations complete. We'll be back for the third right after this from Bud Walton. Friday Night Heights in Northwest Arkansas. Monday night at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, right over on the SEC Network and ESPN app. We'll have the Southern Hoops, a history of SEC basketball series finale. It looks at the years 2012 through 2022. John Calipari's continued success at Kentucky. Gary Blair leads Texas A&M to a title. Vic Schaefer and Mississippi State make it to consecutive national championship games, losing in 2017 to Dawn Staley in South Carolina. The basketball world says goodbye to Pat Summitt. Bring you back in Bud Walton Arena. There's Jordan Weaver. Really wanted her team to have a 197 plus score to drop their lowest national qualifying score. 3 years as UCLA's volunteer assistant coach and building her program. She talked earlier this week about her team's depth, and I think that's been tested a little bit at times over the course of these last few weeks with some minor injuries and whatnot, but obviously she wants her team competing at their very best here in the next week going forward.
Yep, she's been a big opponent of making sure that everyone is consistent week in, week out. They haven't quite found that consistency yet. Like we said last week, they did have that consistent meet finally, but it's been tested quite a few times this year, and they're hoping that going into postseason they can find that consistency.
Calixta Gamia will begin first for the Razorbacks on the beam. Arkansas, this is their worst event, but Calixta a couple of weeks ago had a 9.925 against Mizzou.
Again, another solid lean-off person for the gym backs on beam, which is an event you want to have someone that you know is going to go up there and hit. Very beautiful series, layout, step out, layout, step out. She does it so easy, but that is not an easy series. Side semi. She has a very unique beam routine filled with skills that you don't typically see. Very nice leap series. She's another one of those people that has found her rhythm on beam. Slow and steady, but it works for her every time. You can see where she's found places to breathe, places to look at the judges. She's got to finish it out here with this dismount. Beautiful round off 1.5, took that hop. She had a mistake with that dismount last week. Almost tried to get the stick too hard, so she'll be happy with that routine. Like I said, very difficult series there. Standing layout with a huge smile at the end.
Maybe a score splitting her 2 previous efforts between Mizzou and Georgia. But for Minnesota, they're 11th in the country on floor. They've set a new record on the floor 6 different times. And last week they had a 49.7 against Boise.
That is a huge floor score, and they would definitely love to duplicate that tonight. Punch, front double full, starting off with an E-pass. Switch half Copa, very nicely done. Round up 1.5, front layout. Tell she's dancing with that team, gearing up for that last pass, trying to take a deep breath here.
It's going to come right at us from this angle.
Punch Rudy, beautifully done. Very nice lead off routine.
Marissa James.
What a great way to start the Gophers off.
Marissa Jenks doing the duties for the Gophers.
Again, that first pass, front double full, is an E-pass, so that's extra difficulty there, and lands with that beautiful Rudy. Very nice job by Marissa.
Well, senior night again. One of Arkansas's 5 seniors is Kiera Johnfania, 9'8", 9'9", her last couple of weeks. She was part of that issue at Kentucky when they just had a strange sequence, but 2 strong weeks since.
It did. And sometimes that happens, and sometimes that makes a beam team even stronger. Handspring layout, step out, covered up that little bobble nicely. It's been so nice seeing Kiera get back into lineups. She's worked so hard. She was an all-arounder her freshman years, dealt with a little bit of injuries here and there, but she's been so solid on beam for the Razorbacks. Again, another slight little bobble. And senior night can come with a lot of emotions. I'm sure she's fighting back those emotions right now.
Well, that was a little bit of a wink to the crowd, too.
Gotta live it up one last time in front of your home crowd. Got just the dismount left, round off 1.5. Beautifully done, stack dismount. What a way to go out in front of your home crowd with a hip beam routine. Again, handspring layout, step out. You can tell she was slightly off there, but she covered it up very nicely. And then finished her routine with a beautiful round off 1.5. Good for Kiera.
Back to the floor for Minnesota, Mallory Leneve will compete. She's from Lee Summit, Missouri, so probably friends and family here at 9A5 last week.
Beautiful double pike. Very solid landing there. Playing it up to your teammates. It can be hard trying to really get into your routine at an away meet. The crowd's not necessarily there for you that night. Round off 1.5, front layout, dance out of it. Gearing up for that last pass. Double tuck. Had to cowboy that a little bit. Until she was a little short. But another hit routine for Minnesota. Good routine for Mallory. That double pike, very solid landing. You tell here, she cowboys, which means she has to separate her legs to try to flip faster.
I was going to ask for an explanation, but you beat me to it.
Yep.
Kelly Swaney up next. She was part of this program record 49.525 a couple of weeks ago against Mizzou at Barnhill. 9-8 last week.
Very nice full turn. Good way to settle in quickly into your routine. It was a difficult series. Handspring layout, step out, layout, step out.
Ooh.
You could tell going into that second layout that her foot was already a little bit off.
You could see it. I could tell.
It's important that she finishes this routine as strong as possible, because like you mentioned at the Kentucky meet, you don't want to have to count a fall in general, but if you do, you want to make sure that that routine that you finished up was as good as possible. Switch lead, switch up. Just a dismount, handspring, 1.5, to a stick. Obviously, she's not going to be happy with that fall, but she did finish that routine up very nicely.
Was able to recover.
Look right here, you can see going into that second layout, her back foot was almost off the beam, and she still almost saved it, and then ended up slipping. It's a good fight. And then beautiful dismount. Obviously, that's going to be the score the gym bags want to drop.
In Kentucky, they had multiple drops they had to count. So this is Soraya Johnson off a strong 9-9 just 1 week ago.
Wolf 1.5. Until she kind of cheated that jump just a little bit. Front lay, front half as first pass. Some pretty intense music. I really
I was going
like
to say
it.
the same thing. It has a little different vibe or feel to it.
Very pretty leaps. One more pass, you can see her breathing through that choreography.
She's got that entire left leg wrapped as well.
Very intense leg wrap. Very nice double tack. Really good routine for Soraya.
Minnesota's had a pair of 9.85s already on the floor, maybe a little bit below their incredible pace last week.
Again, first pass, that front full, front half, beautiful body position throughout. And then she does a round off, double tack. Very nicely done for the freshman.
Cami Weaver up next. She had back-to-back really difficult weeks against Kentucky and Mizzou. By goodness, did she respond last week with a 9.925.
Cami is a beautiful beam worker. I know when you talk to her and you ask her favorite event, she's immediately going to say beam. And when she hits this routine, she has very, very high scoring capability. It's important she settles in quickly since they are trying to not count this fall. Very beautiful handspring layout. Did not let the person before her phase her. Slight little bobble on that full turn. That full turn can get you. It looks easy, but it's probably your hardest skill in your routine.
I trust you.
Very nice leap series for Cami. Just the dismount. Very nicely done. You could tell from that angle that she was a little bit off to the side, but that she didn't let that phase her. Again, here's that series. Handspring, 2 layout step outs. Very difficult, very nicely done.
She was drifting a little left here.
She was drifting a little left. So you can tell that she was a little off, and that's why she had to do that quick salute. But way to step up after a fall. And that helps calm the rest of the beam lineup,
No
knowing
doubt.
that you had a solid routine before you.
Gianna Gertis, my goodness, has she been consistently good. Her last 4 weeks sitting a 9.95, a 9.925, a 9.95, and a 9.9. Could she beat that?
I think she's definitely found her stride on floor. Front tuck through to double tuck. Very difficult first pass. She has beautiful dance and expression throughout. Switch ring. Very, very nicely done. You can tell that she definitely has some dance experience by the way she's doing this floor routine. Gearing up for that next pass. Round off, double pike. Very nicely done. Solid landings for both her passes. I love how that choreography flowed throughout that whole routine. Very beautiful routine by Gianna.
Yeah, she's pretty excited about her routine as we take another look.
Very difficult first pass, front tuck through to double tuck. Dances right out of it, and then that double pike. Beautiful form throughout. That, I would bet, should go that 9.9 range.
Arkansas looking to drop an 8.925 from Swaney. And we've seen Kennedy twice on exhibitions. This one counts. She got a big pep talk from Jordan Weber before her event.
And this is her last official routine in front of her home crowd. The pressure is on a little bit, but hopefully she just soaks it in. You can tell she's taking that deep breath right there. Very nicely done. Switch leap to switch half. Very nice. You can tell she's taking her time, really trying to soak in every single part of this beam routine.
Well said.
Very nicely done. You even got a little smirk out of her. I don't know if I've ever seen her this serious before.
She nails this landing, she's going to have a huge smile.
Huge routine for Kennedy.
That must be a relief of sorts for
Oh,
Kennedy.
it is. It's so nice to remind yourself that you're capable of hitting in big moments like that, especially what she's gone through this season and in her career. And knowing that that was her last routine. Keeping in the tears on this side over here. She was my little baby freshman, so see her last routine is kind of surreal.
Big hug from Leah Smith, who's not competing tonight. This is Haley Remlinger. All she did last week, Sydney, was a perfect 10 on the floor.
Just casual.
And then, of course, 5 minutes later, there was another 10 coming from her teammate, Maya Hooten.
And that has to feel so good knowing that not just 1, 2, but maybe even 3 of your gymnasts are capable of going 10. Beautiful full in. You could tell she fought really hard to keep that front foot down, and it is a deduction if you move it. Round up, 1.5, front layout, beautifully done. Right into choreography. And again, another really intense routine.
And music.
And music. Their choreography is done by Geraldine Stack-Eaton, former Bama gymnast who was a national floor champion. Fun fact. Beautiful last pass. Don't know if it'll be that 10, but another very, very solid routine.
Another strong performance by Hallie. She competes in 3 events, no beam for her.
Again, another look at that full in. You can see she does slightly move that front foot. And then that last pass, that double tuck, perfect landing.
Nora Flatley up next on senior night. I'm not sure there could be any more pressure than a couple of weeks ago at Kentucky when Arkansas had 4 scores of 9-2 or worse. She hit a 9-9. Last week a 9-9-2-5, tying for first part of her all-around title.
Yeah, Nora has been known for her beam her whole life, even when she was an elite. She comes from a beam club gym. Sean Johnson came to her gym. Front aerial, handspring layout. Slightly off, but you could tell she saved that. Trying to remind herself to breathe while she's up there. Very difficult leg up turn, immediate switch up. She's so intense with all of her gymnastics. Just that dismount, handspring 1.5, step, slight hop backwards, but great final beam routine for Nora. So here's her handspring layout. She rushed into that back layout, step out, so she was a little short and off on the rotation. And again, that very, very difficult leg up turn, beautifully executed.
Maya Hooten ready to go on the floor for Minnesota. Last year she had 3 perfect 10s on the floor. A couple of weeks ago she was #1 of the nation. Now she's #2. She's won 6 event titles on the floor this year. 2 times she's done it with the 10, including last week.
Maya is the queen of floor. I have been so excited all year when I found out we get to talk about her on floor. And I'll just let her gymnastics do the talking, but beautiful in.
Is that a little sass? Is that what we call that?
Oh yeah. She brings all the sass to floor. Huge leaps.
She knows exactly where the camera is as well. That's a veteran.
Gearing up for this next pass. Front handspring, front full, front pike. Had to tuck that down, but a very nice save. Her signature chest pound. Huge double tuck, very nicely done. And of course, finishing it, holding her crown.
Maya Hooten, one of the best, if not the best in the country.
Here's that first pass, that full in. Does it so beautiful. And that double tuck to end it. Won't be a 10. She did have that slight slip up on her second pass.
Lauren Williams with an exhibition. Arkansas is still waiting on the scores for Kennedy Hambrick and Nora Flatley. Seems a little bit odd. They will drop that 8.925, however, from Callie Sweeney.
Yeah, good for the gym backs for being able to flush away that fall and have a solid end of the beam rotation.
must be a relief when the beam is over. They've had a few of those that have counted this year, so this, of course, the exhibition.
Yeah, and Minnesota still has to go to beam. And as we said, that has not been their strongest event, so the door is still open for the gym backs to come back. Lauren Williams on the beam, you did see that fall there, but luckily this is an exhibition, so they won't have to count it. Again, we've talked about exhibitions all night, and it's important just to go get that experience, especially on beam. Lauren is only a freshman, so she has another 3 to 4 years to solidify herself in this beam lineup. Just that dismount. Very nice round up 1.5.
Are you even more in a concentration mode about your landing when you've had a fall earlier in the event?
I feel like you kind of forget. I feel like everything kind of goes out the window and you just are like, okay, I have to hit the rest of this routine. But you never know. Everyone's different.
Had a 9.95, by the way, on the floor. Still waiting for a couple of beam scores for the Razorbacks. We'll be right back. Fourth and final rotation from Bud Walton. The Razorbacks will move over to the floor. Always a big-time event here in Fayetteville. Minnesota with the lead through 3 rotations before the Razorbacks move to the floor, and Minnesota jumps to their worst event, the beam. Well, you take a look at the SEC standings, Sydney, there's certainly some firepower there at the top with Florida and Kentucky.
Yeah, the SEC every year is a battle for first. You can see all of those conference wins and losses are super close for every team. It's a battle between who's going to take first, who's going to be in that night session. That's always been a goal for every team, to be in that night session. And like I said, the SEC is a hard conference to compete in.
Well, that's the SEC. The Big Ten, see Minnesota 5th. Michigan has been kind of the head of that conference now for quite some time.
Yeah, it's nice to see Michigan State up there. They've really, really improved this year. They obviously have more teams than the SEC, but it is also a battle for that conference championship.
Look at those Hawkeyes ranked 3rd in the Big Ten for gymnastics. We'll step aside and come back for the 4th and final rotation in a moment. When you take a look at these teams by comparison, we mentioned that really beam has been a difficult event for both. It is Minnesota's worst score, but they're very similar when it comes to that NQS.
They are. NQS is super important, super new. It's very hard to understand, but like you said, just one event can throw off your whole entire NQS and drop you in the rankings from a 10 spot to all the way down to a 19 spot like Minnesota is.
These teams could see each other again at some point in the postseason. Minnesota 3 1/4 tenths in front of the Razorbacks before this final rotation. So if the Razorbacks are to post a win, it might take a fall on the beam from Minnesota, and that is always, of course, the most challenging aspect for a team on the road to finish with that event.
It is, and especially like we said, with Minnesota struggling a lot with beam this year, it is a loud environment in here. They've only really put one meet together, that was a 49.15, and the Gymbacks are capable of 49.5 plus on floor, so the door has not been shut yet on a Gymback win tonight.
And we point out many times, winning and losing is not important. I think maybe Arkansas might not be as thrilled with their overall score as their goals or aspirations coming into this event, with the hopes of then dropping one of their lower scores for the NQS.
Correct. You want to get, like you said, we talked about it all night, you want to get that 197. They are on pace to get a 197 with a normal floor rotation. A win is a win at the end of the day, but in gymnastics, the scores are always what matters the most.
If Arkansas gets to 197, it'll be their 5th score of the season. And that's the type of consistency overall that, of course, all teams aspire
Yes, all teams.
Emily Cook getting ready to go on the beam. She had a 9.125 last week. Hometown product. They're just outside of Minneapolis.
She did have a fall last week. Hopefully they can start off stronger to build on that 49.15 they had last year. You can tell she's talking to herself up there, giving herself some confidence. Handspring, layout, step out. Very nicely done. Slight little bobble. Just very nice form. Split, 3/4. I would like to see her pointer feet a little bit harder there. Very difficult skill, nicely done. That's called the Liukin, named after Nastia Liukin. Very hard to land on that one leg and stay so stable. Round off, 1.5, stuck. Much better routine than last week. Very solid start for Minnesota on the beam. Handspring layout, step out. You could see she did bend that back leg a little bit, and there's that Liukin skill. Very nicely done, very difficult. And sticks are contagious, so hopefully she started that stick train for Minnesota tonight.
Well, here's Maddie Jones. She'll lead off. Arkansas as a team at a 49.325 last week. She had a 9.825. Pretty close to her season average.
She starts off with a very difficult front handspring, front double full. Very nicely done. She makes that pass look very easy. And I've talked to Maddie before, and she says, you know, you really do. She loves his lead-off position. She feels like she sets the team up very nicely. Her goal is to one day anchor, though, which would be a full 180. But she is young. She is a sophomore, so she has time to get to that position. One and a half, front layout.
Step out.
She did. She did have that step out of bounds. That will be a 1/10 deduction. You could tell she was slightly off the corner of the diagonal when she was doing her pass. So her gravity obviously brought her off to the floor.
Took her right out.
Yep. But that's okay. It's only 1/10, so it's important that you finish this up strong. Don't let the gap get too big between you and Minnesota. Very nice, Rudy. Solid routine for Maddie. You see here her round off, 1.5, front layout. You can tell on the front layout she punched and she wasn't fully straight, so she really had no other option than to go out of bounds.
Just taking her in that direction. We've seen Lauren Pearl on a pair of exhibitions. Now she's in the beam rotation, coming off a 9.875 last week, which was a season high.
Gearing up for that series. Handspring, back handspring, back layout. Very beautifully done. Full turn. She looked very solid up there. Switch leap. Straddle quarter. She almost goes past 180 in her leaps. Front aerial. Very nicely done. Just the dismount left. Rack handspring, gainer full, slight little hop, but another hit routine for Minnesota.
Off to a good start on an event that has given them some difficulties this season.
Her series right there. Very, very flexible. And that dismount, like I said, just a small little hop in place. Great way to start for Minnesota.
Well, speaking of senior night for Arkansas, Madison Hickey, one of those who will be honored. She gets her turn on the floor.
Very nice double pike. Probably the most controlled I've seen her do that all season. Taking that nice deep breath before her middle pass. Round off 1.5, front layout. Very nicely done. And important she doesn't get ahead of herself here. Takes time to soak it in, but focus on that last landing. Very nicely done, double tuck. And her signature move. What a great last floor routine in front of your home crowd for Maddie.
Yeah, one she'll remember on senior night.
It's a double pike. From that angle, you could see her legs separated just a little bit, but very, very nicely done. And that double tuck controlled so well.
Pucks everywhere. Sarah Mora up next. 9.85 last week against Boise State on the beam.
Very beautifully done, full turn. Another super solid series. For having a bunch of difficulty with beam this year, Minnesota's looking pretty solid so far up there.
They are not showing it this evening. They didn't have the huge scores on floor that they've become accustomed to, but they've also not had some of the struggles on this event.
Yeah, it's important that they make it up in another event. And a very nicely done back handspring gainer dismount. You would not know that they had the difficult beam rotation that they've had this year from today. Very nicely done. Handspring layout, step out. And just that dismount. Huge gainer full. They should be excited about what they have started so far.
Callista Gamiao gets her opportunity in the rotation for the floor.
Double pike. You could tell she really fought to hold on to that landing. And she's really playing into the crowd right now. Round off 1.5. Round by handspring, double full. The pass that never ends. But it's very, very difficult. Crochet, split full.
Now she's just playing to the crowd.
Playing to her teammates, playing to the crowd. She's got to remind herself to breathe for this last pass. Handspring, double tack. Very nicely done. Her teammates are so excited on the sideline.
That's a nice job stepping into the rotation.
Yes, that was the best routine I've seen her do.
Get a huge smile from Jordan as well.
Yes. It's super important with Maddie Jones going out of bounds on that first pass. You don't want to count any more errors. And she stepped in. Like I said, she tried really hard to control herself on that first pass. And then basically stuck that last pass. Her chest is a little low, but she was able to get it up, get that salute, and finish the routine.
Tiare Solis, a couple of weeks ago, had a 9-1. Last week responded and put up a big 9-9.
Handspring, handspring, layout, very difficult series. Nicely done. Until she's taking her time up there. Switch leap, switch side. Another very difficult combination by Tiare. You can tell every gymnast up, the confidence has been building, gymnast to gymnast. Just the dismount pike gainer, stick, wow.
It's a fun dismount.
It's a very fun, very hard dismount. Very scary one to teach yourself as well.
I won't argue with you.
In that series, handspring, handspring, layout, step out, beautiful form throughout, super solid, and that pike dismount. Minnesota should be super happy with their beam team so far.
Nora Flatley up next on the floor. Arkansas had a counter 9-1-2-5 a couple of weeks ago, which was so uncharacteristic. She's been a star, 9-9 just a week ago at Georgia.
She did change up her routine, so now she does for handspring, front double full, beautifully done. She'll only do 2 passes tonight instead of that triple full. It is important to remind yourself that Nora is a 5th year. Her body has taken a toll. She was an elite gymnast, so if you can still have the difficulty and maybe not do as many skills as you need to, might as well. If you do it as nice as Nora does.
I think that makes sense from a self-preservation standpoint.
Yes. Round up, 1.5, front layout, beautifully done. Playing to her teammates on the side. Just this leap pass left. Switch ring, switch side, or switch half. Beautiful routine by Nora. It's been so nice seeing Nora be a gym back this year. She's really stepped into that leader role and really taken advantage of enjoying her last year of gymnastics. Beautiful front double full. You can tell she's just loved every moment of being here.
Bit of a relief, certainly some emotions as well for Nora Flatley. I think the finality of being a Razorback here at Bud Walton has hit her. By the way, for Minnesota, their low score to this point is a 9-8, so they've done a nice job. This is Abby Nyland coming off a 9-7 a week ago. Another one of their fifth-year seniors.
You can tell she slightly overturned that full turn. Important she settles in right here. Handspring, handspring, layout, very nicely done. Hitch kick, switch side. Like to see her point through toes, extend just a little bit harder. Straddle 3/4, oh.
She held on.
Big bobble, way to fight there. Tell she was just a little timid going into that jump. Another gainer pike, stuck. Way to recover after that jump. The Gophers are gonna wanna probably try to drop that score. But that's a beautiful routine leading up to it. Handspring, layout, step out. And that stuck dismount. Again, there was no fall, so that's awesome for them, especially like we said, trying to count a road score. But it would be a lot nicer if they didn't have to count one with a big mistake.
Well, with all the veterans and all the star power on this Razorback gymnastics team, I got a feeling one of the highlights at the end of this year will be the performance of the freshman Lauren Williams, including a 9.95 a few weeks ago she had on the floor against Kentucky.
Yeah, Lauren has just made a name for herself immediately, being that hometown kid. Huge pull-in. She's had a little bit of difficulty controlling her power there. I think she did a great job.
Too much power.
Round off, 1.5, front layout, very nicely done. Sometimes she has a little bit of difficulty there. She just has so much power, she doesn't know what to do with it.
Youth is wasted on the young when it comes to strength and power.
Yes.
I'm sure in gymnastics more than other sports.
Oh, yes. Just this final pass. If she can get this landing, it's going to be a huge score.
Oh.
You could tell she was on her heels a little bit, so she had to take a couple steps back and go out of bounds. You couldn't tell if both feet went out of bounds. If they did, that'll be a bigger deduction than if just one foot went out of bounds.
Last couple of seconds of this routine.
She held on just a little too long.
Costly.
Like I said, beautiful first pass. Very nicely done. Double tech. Almost held on too long, didn't kick out of it. You could tell that her legs were, or her arms were still on her legs as she was landing, so she had to take those few steps.
She almost came down the side of the platform.
So it looks like they're gonna have to count Maddie Jones's 9.725. And Minnesota has been over here killing their beam rotations.
They certainly have, and this is their anchor. Gina Gertis, 9.825 last week.
nicely done front aerial. And you could tell she was a little off going into that second skill. Minnesota is going to have to count that big bobble from the last routine. So again, the door is never closed on a meet when a team has to finish on
So
team.
true.
Very difficult double stack jump. Handspring. Very beautiful gainer dismount. Obviously a disappointing way to end the rotation, but they did not have to count a fall today,
That is true.
so that is an improvement.
Count the wobble, not the fall. Let's see if Frankie Price can finish strong for the Razorbacks. A couple of weeks ago against Kentucky, one of the two judges gave her a 10, but she had to settle, if you will, for that 9975.
Yeah, it's very impressive that she's already getting those scores. Her first year out on floor, she has a huge first pass. And if she can also rein in her power, this will go big. Beautifully done double layout.
Good start.
And I love her facial expressions, how much she really gets into her dance.
It's that combination of athleticism and showmanship.
And the amplitude she gets even on her leaps is so impressive. Well, now front pike, the best I've seen her do that pass. Sometimes she tries to stick it too hard and it'll land a little short. Final pass coming up. Gotta dance it out first. You can tell she's trying just a little too hard on that double pike, so she landed a little short. Won't be the 10 tonight, but another countable routine. Right here, huge double layout. Flares it out, sticks it, no movement. Then that double pike, you can tell she almost was a little crunched on her back handspring, a little loose in her legs going into it. So she opened up a little early. Not the best floor rotation for the gym backs tonight. Still a usable score going into it.
Just not the big score they needed with some help from Minnesota on the beam. So some final words of wisdom from Jordan Weaver. Looks like the Razorbacks are going to have a floor exhibition as well. Emma Kelly gets her chance. Saw Emma earlier in this meet.
I don't know if I've yet to see Emma compete floor. I believe she did an exhibition last week, but it was not televised, so we didn't get to see that.
It was not. Of course, it wasn't at Georgia's basketball/gymnastics arena. They were having issues with the ceiling falling out of the sky, so they had to move it and compete on Sunday rather than Friday. And probably worth repeating, Sydney, that Arkansas only had 2 days this week.
Yes.
It was not their normal routine leading into this meet.
Yes, of course. So that, like I said, sometimes rest can be a good thing and rest can be a bad thing. It is hard, like I said, going into these last few meets of the season to not feel as well rested as you want. Nicely passed by Emma. You can see that first pass. She kind of got a little bit lost on her full in. Didn't quite know where the floor was. I couldn't quite tell if she fell or if her knees touched the ground.
There was quite a buckle.
There's definitely a buckle. And again, going back to what we just talked about, not having that full week of rest going into your final meet. They will have over a week going into SECs. SECs is on a Saturday, so hopefully that added couple days will help them put together a meet that they are fully capable of hitting. Round off 1.5, front full. Step out of bounds. Very difficult last pass though. That is a very loaded routine, and when she gets that consistency and confidence, it'll be there.
Arkansas will fall just a little bit shy of their desired 197 tonight. We'll step aside, come back and wrap things up from Bud Walton right after this. Minnesota will win this meet. They top 197, albeit barely. A pretty decent finish for them on the beam. Arkansas did not have quite the floor number that they would like, and Sydney, they will fall just a little bit shy of that desired 197. I know they were hoping for more than that, but that's kind of become the expectation, just not this evening.
Yeah, 197, like you said, is that ultimate goal score. 196.9 is pretty close, but when you're coming this close to the end of the season, it's important to hit it and not make these little mistakes that were made tonight.
Well, Nora Flatley won the all-around last week, and I think she scored even a little bit better this week.
She did. What a way to go out at your new home arena for Nora on her birthday, to say the least. So it was a very good birthday for Nora.
Did we forget to mention it's her
birthday?
birthday?
We did. It is her birthday.
Well, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Nora Flatley.
9925 on that floor. Let's take a look at some of the highlights, including her dismount on the bars.
And that Maddie Quarles vault, full and a half stuck. And the highlight for me tonight was Kennedy Hambrick hitting that final beam routine, seeing that confidence soar.
9.9 for Kennedy on the beam, which again is a big number for her, not only on senior day, but maybe what that means for the postseason.
Yes, it's going to be very important to have those final scores for Kennedy count 9.9 or higher. And then, like we said, Nora Flatley had a killer night, 9.9s across the board. You can tell she's very, very happy with tonight's performance.
That's going to do it tonight from Bud Walton. Arkansas hopes to get Leah Smith back soon. The postseason is next for these two teams. For Sydney McGlone and our entire crew, I'm Brett Dolan. Thanks for watching. Minnesota takes down Arkansas at Bud Walton. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.